Portrait. My daughter, little Julie, and I stand amazed on our own Rue de Gros Chenet, for we have been accused of happiness by a Paris fishwife. Years later, standing in the spring woods of my country retreat at Lucien, I am remembering not only the season and year, that fall of 1789, but also the street clatter and the iron odor of revolution hanging in the Parisian air. The resemblance of this old woman's accusing finger to her nose terrifies Julie. Her young eyes dart back and forth between those reddish twin grotesqueries from knobby nose to joint-swollen finger and back to nose. Then my little girl turns from the angry woman, closes her eyes, and burrows her own sweet nose and face into the folds of my skirt. My small daughter hides herself in me. The Parisian fishwife points at me, smacks her toothless gums, and accuses, "C'est l'artiste." She's the artist, the painter, she rants on, accusing me. The Queen's favorite, her favorite, night and day. With shielding hand, I press my daughter's head closer against my thigh, and Julie, with the thumb and forefinger of each hand, pinches up the ample fabric of my green baize skirt and draws it around the back of her head, the better to hide. Her small, vulnerable back and the waterfall of her little skirt are clear evidence of her presence. In that moment, I embrace again not only my daughter, but the idea that she and I must abandon Paris soon. Hiding will not suffice. Tomorrow, perhaps, during October of this most dreadful year, 1789, or soon, we must try to escape while it is still possible to escape. But exactly which day and how soon, we have tickets for the next day on the common stagecoach, but I am not yet convinced we will be on it. I ask myself again, must I leave my studio, my home, my friends, my country, life as I have lived it? This home, this neighborhood have defined me, and my resolution to escape with Julie pitches and stumbles. A taller, younger woman, painfully thin, has brought her similar long nose. Perhaps they are mother and grown daughter, and stinking breath to my face. Perhaps she is drawing near to bite my cheek. The emaciated younger mother hisses, "I'd like to eat your rosy little girl." Feed her to my brood, limb by limb. Remembering, I shudder now, many decades later, standing alone in the beautiful wood of Lucien. Through the fabric of my thin spring dress, I press the flat of my hand against my aged thigh. Not the tender cheek of little Julie, but only my old hand. I'm 85, and it's only my own hand that keeps company with my thigh. Perhaps that starving mother did not say this, perhaps being so very old now in Lucien for its spring, 1841, I only remember October 1789 that way. Even now, I am haunted by the revolution. They went by the hundreds, my beautiful friends, lying face down on that awful sled, relieved of their powdered wigs, like moths to the candle. Some in closed carriages, like the King of France, some in an open tumbrel, peasants, tinsmiths, shop figures, seamstresses, myriad aristocrats, the King, the Queen of France. Whatever their conveyance, from the prisons, from the tower of the Knights Templar, as came the King, or from the conciergerie, as came the Queen 9 months later, or from La Force, they progressed toward a distant flickering of sunlight, reflected from a high steel blade. But do we not all stand in the shadow of a high blade, waiting in its scaffolding, so like a door case, if we think of it as the image and metaphor for death? Looking up, we know that polished blade is the mirror of our inevitable mortality. That is something we must all face, our mortality, the vulnerability of our ridiculous, once lovable bodies. Our bodies are drawn toward death biologically, as surely as a moth is drawn to the lantern. But during the Revolution, the guillotine was not a lantern, and I was not a moth. So I'll stop with that. Your turn. If you would like to ask any questions about this book or other books. It's hard to ask a question about this book. You haven't read it. I've only been out 2 days. So,